And we are back, everyone. And with me, I have Konstantin and Nicholas from Wisborg. Welcome in, guys.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
having
having
us.
us.
Okay, that was kind of perfect. You guys being like in synchronicity.
As
It's
always.
yeah, it's so good to have you here. Um, super stoked that you wanted to join me here. Um, So yeah, let's just start off somewhere. Like I obviously know who you guys are, but my audience doesn't know that much about you other than they've heard the occasional song here and there. So let's start off by letting you guys tell a little bit about the band. If I recall correctly, you started in 2017, but yeah, I'll let you talk.
Nicholas, should I? Oh,
Yeah, just you can start if you want to.
okay. Yeah, we started in 2017, and although we never specifically tried to be a goth band, I guess it's fair to say, and most people say that we are a goth band, a goth rock band.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we make dark alternative music with guitars, something along those lines. Yes, we just released a new album.
Yeah.
Um, for the first time in German, completely in German. Before that, we exclusively wrote English songs. And yeah, that just came out. We are very excited about it.
Yeah, I've listened to it. It's really cool.
Did you understand any of it,
Yeah,
lyric-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand German better than I speak it, so I could understand a fair deal of it. Maybe not everything, but a good amount. And I really like what I'm hearing.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
You're welcome. And yeah, I mean, you obviously already described your music style and the band, so I assume that's also how you would describe yourself to someone who has never heard you before. Like the best shorthand might be goth rock, but do you have other definitions for yourself?
Hmm.
Pretty hard to say to be honest, because the first album sounded pretty different from the stuff we're doing at the moment. We, I guess I would say we have our own kind of DNA,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, there are parts of us that are more metal-like and there are songs that sound more metal,
Mm-hmm.
and there are typical goth rock songs, I would say. Then there are songs which are very electronic. It really depends on the album and the song, I would say.
Yeah. So, I mean, I obviously like a good genre blend. I mean, I play all sorts on my stream here, like anywhere from goth rock to metal to synth pop to yeah, you name it. Um, so
So we fit right in here.
yes,
Perfect.
you fit in perfectly. You fit in perfectly, and I've loved you guys' sound since I came across you in 2021. Yeah, 2021.
Yeah, for
Um,
into the void was your first contact then,
yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matteo from Hell Boulevard, he showed the video for I Believe in Nothing.
Mhm.
And from that moment, I was just like, yes, these are the people. They're super cool. Their music is
Ah,
great. I need to follow them.
shout out to Matteo.
Yes, much
He's
love to Matteo. He's introduced me to quite a few bands on here, so big win, big win.
Uh,
Um,
he he um he shot a music video with us this year, last year.
oh, nice.
It's already out. It's
Yeah.
he did the Kalt Be Ice video.
Ah,
It's from
right,
10.
right. That video is so good.
And yeah, he does what he knows what he's doing.
Definitely,
Absolutely.
definitely. Um, what's with the band name like Wisborg? I know historically that Wisborg is a place, but why did you choose that name? Was it just because it sounded cool, or is there more to it?
Wisborg is not a real place. It's a fictional place.
Yeah.
It's a blending of other words, of other actual cities. Wisborg is the fictional city from the silent movie Nosferatu from the 1920s.
Uh huh.
um, that the vampire is haunting. So like when we started out and were maybe a little bit more gothy than we are now, we picked this name for us because it kind of matched with the vibe. We also back then we had a little bit of a concept. We were like focusing more on this 1920s silent movie horror kind of stuff,
Yeah.
like which is also like evident in like Becoming Caligari, our
Yeah.
first single, which
Oh.
obviously refers to the cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that one, that it probably had that connection.
Yeah, but somewhere along the lines, like that got less a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
like this was our roots. So and I think what I like about the name is like it sounds neutral, you know, like and when you hear the name Wisborg, like for a lot of other bands, you immediately know or guess what kind of music they make. And for Wisborg, it really could be anything.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I mean, it could be anything from a vampire rock band to symphonic metal to I don't know. Lots of different
my mom
directions.
said I could be anything, so I so I became everything.
Well, there you go. There you have it. Um, so yeah, what I have a question for like both of you. Konstantin, how did you get into singing? Do you have a specific song influence?
Not really. I've always been singing my whole life, like even when it wasn't appropriate. My as a child, all the time, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I guess I can't really tell you why. This was always like very important for very important form of self-expression for me.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And Nicholas, what about you? When did you start playing music? And also, feel free to tell me about any influences if you have any, like people you look up to musically or something that may have influenced your style or anything.
Uh-huh. Well, I was pretty late to the party, I would say. I was starting playing guitar when I was 15, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
This was when I got my first guitar from my mother. And yeah, but I can remember I really wanted to learn the guitar because, the first phase of learning an instrument is like a pain in the ass. You know, you're doing just the same thing over and over again, and your fingers are starting to hurt, and it's not making any fun because you can't play any songs yet.
Yeah.
But I was like 4 hours a day, I was strumming the shit out of the this thing, and yeah, and I continued to do it, and yeah, it turned out that it is the actual uh, yeah instrument for me. Later, I was playing bass most of the time because when I started my first band, I wasn't good enough at the guitar, and yeah, I started out as a bass player. And Wisborg was the first band where I really played guitar on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And influences, yes, depends. Um, I think I don't really have a real influence when it comes to playing guitar. More like having stage moves or stuff like that. You know, every guitarist who's very outraging on
Yeah.
stage and very expressionistic. I always had a thing for that. Otherwise, you know, when it comes to making music, 90s industrial rock is a big thing for me. 80s old school industrial, for example, stuff like that. But yeah, when it comes to good, dirty guitar stuff, it's always great. Depends on the band.
That makes sense. That makes total sense. Speaking of like songwriting and stuff, um, like your lyrical themes, obviously you mentioned the whole 1920s inspiration just before, but like, do you have other lyrical themes? I mean, I have spotted some kind of vampire influenced songs in there, or some songs that wouldn't be out of place in films such as, The Lost Boys or something. Um, like, what inspires you guys to write music? And do you have a particular process for the matter? Or do you just sit down and do it?
Well, lyrics, um, I usually have an emotion or like something I experienced or like either a feeling or like something I experienced in real life, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't necessarily have to be like what the song is about in the end, but usually it's a starting point, and like then I make it a little more abstract, sometimes more, sometimes less. Um, so like less specific, so more people can maybe identify or see themselves in it. I don't know. Um, the vampire stuff, yeah. I mean, we have the song "Vampire" and "Vampire Part 2" on the Into the Void album,
Yeah.
but this is more like a really more like playful, dumb metaphor. So in the vein of Type O Negative, like
Yeah.
it's really funny because like these songs were like more or less meant to be like a homage to like 90s bands that we liked,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't expect them to be that popular. Like Vampire uh, is has always been like in the top 10 on Spotify, even though it wasn't a single, and
Yeah.
like I think it even got more popular than most of the singles we released from that album. Um, Even though I don't necessarily feel it's like very representative of what we do in general,
Mm-hmm.
but it is what it is, and I'm incredibly grateful, nevertheless, that people can relate to it and like it. So no complaining.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes a song just strikes a vibe with the people who are listening, and it's not necessarily the song that you expect it to be as an artist.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Like when you put an album together, you can only guess like which songs were good as singles.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, like the audience very often proves you wrong or like picks other favorites. Like
Yeah.
there's no wrong or right, you know, like there's more things that make you pick which song you want to put out as a single than just like how is it gonna perform. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
of
like
course.
when you have a special connection to a song, that's more important than yeah, how like we are making music for ourselves, you know, and we love when people can refer to it and
Mm-hmm.
relate to it, but we want to share the songs that we have the biggest emotional connection with. So
Yeah, I mean that makes complete sense. But like, aside from Vampire, are there any tracks that has like surprised you how popular they got with your audience, or has it otherwise been pretty what do you say, uh, foreseeable?
mm.
Hard to say.
Well, Perfume and Cigarettes was a little bit of a surprise as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like the most successful song from the Into the Void album now, even though it wasn't a single in the first place. Like even more successful than the lead single by now, at least by Spotify streams.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And Spirits That I Called, right? Because we just made a lyric video for it. It wasn't supposed to be a great single.
it was the lead single of the second album, so like it was the first track we released.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like that it what became our by far most successful song is still quite a surprise.
So like, speaking of like fans, I mean, I know you have quite a few followers in like Germany and stuff, but do you have an idea like how many people from other places are listening to you?
Mm, well, you can always check the Spotify streams,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, you don't necessarily know if this really means that there are people who actively listen to your music in the country, or there's just like a popular playlist there, you know, like that you get in for some reason. But like Finland was always very big. Like
Yeah.
um, for a while, I think like Helsinki was like our number one city.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and other than that, the USA. We have quite some people listening to Wisborg in the USA, but the USA are so huge.
Yeah.
It's the same equivalent. It's equivalent to like having listeners in Europe. You know, like it's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
It's basically like having them in your complete opposite end of Europe from where you are.
yeah, mm,
But yeah,
yeah, but
that's really cool. Like, I bet that most people when they start out making music, they don't expect to have people from like all over the place listening to them. Um,
absolutely not. Nope.
like I think a lot of artists are like, okay, but like if my friends like it to begin with, then that's a win, and then everything else is
Mm,
just like even
absolutely.
more even more awesome. Like, yeah, I mean that's how I would feel myself if I were ever to like make some music and release it. I would be glad if my friends listened, and I would be shocked if anyone else did, but also happy, you know.
Absolutely. I can still remember when I did the merchandise shipping,
Hmm.
and the day got someone from Japan who ordered a shirt, and I went to the post office and was sending out a T-shirt to Japan, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. There's someone running around in Japan right now, maybe with a shirt on from us. This is absolutely crazy. I don't know how this happened, but yeah, crazy.
I mean, the internet is an amazing place to help people get out in the world if the algorithm lets them, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Um, but like, yeah, speaking of like the internet and stuff, um, do you feel like it has helped you like positively, or do you still like lean into the old school way of word of mouth, or a bit of both, or how does that work?
the internet is the best thing that could happen to us as musicians. Like,
Hmm.
I know there's always people complaining that like obviously like there's like way more people making music now, and like it's very easier to like release music and like to advertise your music online, but still like um there's so many people making music like that are enabled now because of that, like that some people are complaining that it's too much and like you can't really get recognition anymore. But I don't think it was really ever easier. Like making music has always been difficult. Getting famous was always difficult, and like there were no golden age of like making music and becoming popular. I really don't believe that. And for us personally, like it's a great way to just connect with the audience and like to reach our fans directly. And um yeah, I wouldn't want to miss it.
Yeah, I mean that I can understand that, because had it not been for the internet, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. That's for sure. And I probably wouldn't have had the reach that I ended up getting so far. So I'm very grateful to the internet too. It's also brought me a lot of friends from like all over the world. So like the whole community thing is just super super cool. Um, but yeah, like cultures and stuff. I mean, obviously we know of internet culture. It's an interesting place as it is, but also like subcultures. Like, do you affiliate with one in specific? Um, like obviously I know that per the music you play you could be considered a part of the dark scene, but like how did the dark scene receive you when you first came out? Were they curious about you? Were they like, meh, we don't want to hear this? What was the deal? And has it changed over the years? Like obviously it must have changed for the better, because I keep seeing more and more stuff about you here, there, and everywhere.
Nice, it works.
Yes.
Well, it
um
depends, I guess. The dark scene isn't equally to the dark scene, I would say. There is a big independent scene
Mm-hmm.
in Germany where you can find a lot of small post-punk and dark electronic bands and stuff like that. And there is I would say, more commercial dark scene, I would say, with bigger bands who sound a little different. Our introduction to the dark scene when we first came out was very, very good, to be honest. We
Mm-hmm.
did, um, yeah, the kind of music we did was a little different, a little more, yeah, how can I say it, more underground maybe, more DIY stuff. And there were a lot of people who supported us from the very beginning. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I like the whole. If I recall correctly, you've also played some festivals. I know you did Mera Luna. Was that last year? I think it
yes,
was last year.
Sure.
Yeah. Was that the first time on a festival with the band, or have you played other places before that I kind of missed out on?
We've played quite a lot of festivals. Like in the first year, like already, like 1 month after the debut album came out in 2018, we played Wisborg Treffen.
Oh
That was our
wow,
first festival.
no
Yeah,
pressure.
yeah, it was hilarious because back then, like this was our fifth gig, I think, like in total,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and like we didn't have stuff. Like back then, we were just two people with guitars, and
Hmm.
like the stage was huge and we didn't have a backdrop, we didn't have a drummer, we didn't have like anything. We were just like trying to make ourselves as big as possible to cover more space.
Oh,
And like we still didn't really have a stage presence, so like
uh-huh.
Yeah.
we didn't move around a lot either. So,
You were just completely winging it
yeah, like
in front
it
of
was
however
amazing.
many people who
Yeah.
had shown up. I mean, it's like like just playing Wave Gothic Travel as like your one of your first gigs. It's just like whoa. I think most bands would be either excited and or terrified at the same time of that prospect. Like
Yes,
I'm sure,
that was exactly the mixture of feelings I had. Yeah,
yeah.
Yes.
Like it must have been so intimidating, but I bet you also felt really, really awesome when you walked off stage afterwards.
absolutely.
Yes.
And clearly, people must have liked you since word spread enough that you also kept getting hired for other stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, we played Plage Noir, I think, in 2022. That's actually where we got in touch with Chris Harms.
Hmm.
And we played Amphi Festival in, no, wait. We played Amphi Festival in 2022 and Plage Noir in 2023. Yeah.
Ah, right.
No, wait. That's also not right.
It
We
must,
played Plage Noir in 2022 and Amphi in 2021. Oh,
21
yeah, because
must
you
be.
you were
21 was pandemic.
Let me check that.
Nicholas is checking the sources
Amphi
because
Festival was 2022 and Plage Noir 2022.
Oh,
Same year.
okay. Never mind.
I mean, it does kind of line up because most of the lockdowns had kind of started to dissipate around the later half of 2022.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. And also, like, I know I saw you guys when you toured with Lord of the Lost for their small clubs tour. I saw you
Yeah.
in Hamburg. Such a great show. So yeah, people, if you're listening, if you can get a chance to go see these guys, go. They're fun.
Thank you.
And yeah, like obviously, you know, doing the festivals and stuff, you get to get in touch with a lot of people, and obviously that leads to like collaborations. And on your latest album, I know you've collaborated with Chris Harms, you've collaborated with the Frights. Like how was that? Was it easy, or is it difficult when you need multiple inputs from people? Or yeah.
Um, well, about the collaborations, like uh, the Chris Harms collaboration was obviously like it sort of made sense because he was producing the album.
Mhm.
So like that came first. And like when we figured out, okay, we're gonna do the next album with Chris, like we decided, okay, then we are also gonna make a song together. The other two features on the album with Pride and Jatam were like um the other way around. Like for Chris Harms, for the Chris Harms feature, we specifically wrote a song that
Mhm.
works well with Chris Harms' voice because we didn't just want to have a feature where we put the name on it so it sells better. No, we really wanted to make a song that profits from his part.
Mhm.
So we specifically wrote a song that has more metal elements where his screaming voice would actually add to the vibe. For the other two songs, it was the other way around. Like for the Fright feature, Exitus, and for the Jetam feature, Untermenschen, we had a song that needed certain elements. Like for Untermenschen, I had lyrics with a French quote from Jean-Paul Sartre, a French philosopher, and I
Mhm.
wanted to have it in the original language. And I
Ah.
don't speak French properly, so I wanted a French native speaker to do the quote, and then we looked up like which cool French bands do we know, and like chitchat was coming to mind very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And for the other thing, the for Exitus, like the feature with the Fright, we wanted to have screams in there, like guttural screaming, and I can't do that either. No one else in the band can. So we reached out to them because we've been friends for a long time. We played with the Fright some shows before in the past, and we're gonna play with the Fright again this year as well. And we just reached out because we knew like the guitarist has a black metal background, and it it just made sense to just ask in your circle of friends for that, you know.
Yeah, I mean that is definitely the good way to go about it. Like, hey, buddy, can you help?
Yeah,
duh, duh, duh. But like, yeah, speaking of like Lord of the Lost and stuff, you obviously toured with them back last year, and I know that you are soon headed out to play. You already played like one leg with Schattenmann, who played at Lordfest last year. Really, really good show. Really, really cool band. You're heading out for like the second tour leg in like a couple of weeks, aren't you?
depends how you count it, like the second or third, but yeah, like we have 4 more dates with Schattenmann, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Like it also seems like even though your genres are a little bit different to each other, you still kind of complement each other, like music wise. It's not like a lineup. Sometimes I feel like you look at a lineup and you're like, how do these bands fit together? Because they don't necessarily always fit together musically, but you know, the labels or whatever, they were like, we want you to go on tour together. Boom. Um, you guys seem to mesh very, very well, even though there are slight differences in your music and stuff. Um, and like I hope that the rest of the tour goes well. Has it gone well so far?
Absolutely.
I would say yes. Normally there are some difficulties, you know, with the technique stuff and stuff like that. But yeah, well, Schattenmann are very nice people, and we feel very comfortable around them. And yeah, the whole crowd was awesome, and yeah, nothing bad to say at the moment.
At the
Yeah.
moment.
Yet.
Yet being the imperative word here.
No, but really, like the touring experience for Schattenmann is amazing. Like the guys and also their crew, like guys and girls are super kind, and like just as Lord of the Lost did, like they are treating us on as equals. You know, they are not treating us as like the support band. They
Yeah.
are treating us as equals, and we're just having a great time and traveling together, and having fun together. And we just really nice trip and very enjoyable.
That's super awesome. I love when bands do that. Like, just treat each other as equals. I mean, just because someone's a support act or an opening act, it doesn't mean that you're less than the main act. And sometimes in certain fandoms, I also see that some people will not like show up for the opening acts, but only show up for the main acts. And I personally think that that is such a shame because in a lot of cases, they're really, really missing out.
Yeah. As a band that like plays support shows every once in a while, I support this message.
I mean, everyone, and I think it's also because some people tend to forget that most bands once upon a time were support bands for someone else.
For sure.
Um, but yeah, like circling back to your latest album, which is self-titled, like why, considering your previous records were in English, why did you choose uh, to make a record in German? Was it just because it made sense, or yeah,
Um, well, I just wanted to
yeah,
actually like I read the lyrics and like because like we did a couple of songs and a couple of records in English, you know, that was cool at the time, but when you're not writing in your native language, you always have a little bit of a filter in how much you can actually like articulate yourself or like express yourself, you know? Like in your native tongue, you just have way more possibilities. You can like be more nuanced in your sentences and like it, yeah, that was interesting to me. It's also part of sort of a challenge
Mm-hmm.
because like you get in more direct dialogue with the audience, at least like when you're playing in Germany, in
Yeah.
our native country, or like when, yeah, but most of our fan base is here, so it's for most of them it's a more direct dialogue now, and yeah, that was just interesting to me. Like I still absolutely love that. Like when we're playing shows now, even though the people that never heard the song, like after the first chorus, they can sing along, you know, because it's German. Like
Yeah.
you have an immediate response. Like that's a whole different feeling because like I have only ever performed English songs on stages my whole life.
If you were to pick one song from the new album to like sell the whole thing, just one, which one would it be? Question for
Nicholas,
both of you.
which one would you choose?
Im freien Fall, maybe.
Yeah, like as the first contact, yeah, I think so too. Like makes sense. That's why we chose it as the lead singer in the first place.
Yeah.
I really do like that one. It's a really, really good song. So that I approve. I've also played it with some success on the stream. I think that one and Untermenschen is the one that I've played the most for people here. And it seems to be very well received. So I'm very pleased with that, that's for sure.
That's amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. I just need to get my physical copies very soon. Next payday. Next payday. Not to get ahead of myself. But like, what do you hope to gain with your music? Like, is it just to have fun or is it for fame and fortune? I mean, any answer to that is valid.
If it was for fame and fortune, we would probably play different music.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, if you weren't playing it for fame and fortune, what would you be playing?
Hmm. I don't know. I never asked myself this question, but like I think I can speak for both of us if I say like we just want to make music that touches us, that we are feeling,
Mm-hmm.
like a music that we would like to hear. Like um ideally people connect to that. We want like obviously that's anyone who makes art, whatever kind of art, wants people to connect with it. And people that say I don't care whether people like my music or not are lying. I sincerely believe that. Like everybody wants to be successful with what they're doing, but
Yeah.
like that doesn't mean it's the reason they're doing it, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
um not making music is not an option. Not making this kind of music is not an option. And like if people connect with it and like if people liking it, that's amazing.
Yeah.
If not, we have to deal with that. But like we still have to do it anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's it. There's no alternative to making music.
yeah, and like everyone won't like everything, so as long as you're pleased and people and like if people didn't like it, I assume they wouldn't listen to it because I don't understand the people who listen to stuff they hate. That makes zero sense to me. So I assume that all the people who are listening to you actually like what you're doing.
I assume. Yeah.
I would at least hope so. Otherwise, people need to find a new hobby, I guess.
Maybe.
um,
But we are grateful for every single one that likes our music. I would say.
understandable, and you guys deserve all the success. And like music wise, I can definitely see you guys keep on growing because you already have like a pretty solid fan base where you're at. You already played like a lot of big festivals in Germany, so like all I can say to people outside of Germany is if you want these guys to come play, go and bother the people who handle your local music scenes? Because I'm sure you guys would go and play other places if you got offered shows, and it would make sense from like a touring point of view.
Sure. For sure.
Is there any places like, obviously you mentioned the US, but are there other places you would like totally dream of going someday?
Well, something in Asia. I would totally love to play in Japan, for example. That would be kind of an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I would love to play anywhere. Like, I just love seeing different parts of the world. I've seen way too little of the world in general, and like traveling places, going places, and playing shows there. Like, that's the ideal combination. Like, what could be better? Like seeing the world and playing music, doing what you love. It's
Mm-hmm.
like if that goes hand in hand, that's amazing. You just have to make actual time to see stuff because like usually when you're touring and like have one show each day, like, you don't
Yeah.
see much of the cities you're visiting.
Yeah, it's limited how much downtime you get when you're on tour.
Yes.
Someone in the chat is saying they deserve the world, and I agree. You do.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you have like any future accomplishments? Like, do you have any plans aside from like playing as many shows as you can get your hands on? Is there anything new in the
Ye-
pipeline you can talk about, like music videos, new songs, something else?
Yes, we're planning to play a show where we're going to play the whole new album live in one
Nice.
take in our hometown, Hanover.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, beside from that, we are still working on our first real headliner tour. But yeah, we can't tell any details at the moment. We're still in the planning phase.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Headliner tour, how exciting though. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, well, a small one. A small one.
Yeah, just a couple of shows, just to like play full sets. Like support shows are only just like 40 minutes usually. Like
Yeah.
a short number is 40 minutes, and like a couple of shows in autumn, like to actually like play a little more songs and like songs that we didn't play in a while.
Yeah.
And offering our fan base, like to have a full abendfüllende, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. You basically want to be able to showcase more of yourself by doing these headliner shows because let's face it, that's what headliners do. They showcase themselves like fully.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like I assume that being like a touring musician and stuff, that would require quite a bit of bravery. At least if you have like I don't know if you have like social anxiety or something like I do, doing like stuff like live, that would absolutely terrify me. I mean, I would still try it sometime if I were offered it, but I would still be like, oh, when right before going live. So like, would you guys consider yourself brave? And how do you deal with like any potential pre going on stage anxiety? Like, do you have any rituals? Do you have anything you need to do before you go on? Stuff like that.
Yes, I would say, as far as I know, Konstantin doesn't suffer that much from stage fright like I do, as far as I know. But I don't have any strategies. I just die every time. There is simply it is as it
Yeah.
is. Half an hour before stage time, I'm just walking around, looking at the clock, and trying to get my head straight. But yeah, after 10 seconds into the set, I'm totally into it, and yeah.
Yeah, you just kind of need to get in the zone.
But it was like from the absolutely beginning just until now. It got a little bit better, and it gets better when I'm playing multiple shows after another.
Yeah.
But I still remember the first show we ever played in Hanover. I was like 2 hours before it. I had to walk around the block a couple of times because I was just, I don't know, hyperventilating.
Mm.
It was absolutely horrible because it was the first time playing guitar on stage, first time on stage in general with Wisborg, and yes,
Playing synths as well.
Playing synthesizers as well.
First time backing vocals.
Everything.
All the things at once, just dropping
Yeah.
you into the deep end. Here you go. Whee!
That was horrible. But yeah, turned out pretty nice again, and in the end, it all works out normally.
Back then, my legs were shaking as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Like I got rid of stage fright pretty fast. Like I don't really experience stage fright nowadays. Like usually I'm just like excited to go on stage. Like what people don't tell you is like most part of being a musician, especially like being on tour, is waiting,
Yeah.
sitting around and trying to fill your time. It's like and like usually I try to keep myself occupied as much as possible, especially like right before the show. Like usually, Nicolas can tell you about it. It's like all the musicians hate it. Like I'm always like, can we just like do pictures now? Can we just like do some stuff? Can we do the pre-show selfies? You know, and everybody's like, we play a show in like half an hour. Can we just rest for a bit? And
Yes.
So you're
Because I-
basically just crawling on the walls, like right before, like, ee!
yeah, like like waiting to be able to finally go on stage is like the most horrible thing. So I
Yeah.
just try to distract myself with stuff. Not because I'm afraid, but because I can't wait for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people land somewhere in between the two extremes of having either like huge stage fright or just being like super excited, or maybe a bit of both. I mean, I guess that's just part of being a performer, but would you say that people who say that they haven't ever had stage fright are lying, or are they just super, super confident in what they do?
I
Hard to
mean,
say.
there's people are different, It's like there I guess there's people who never experienced stage fright, probably. Like there's all different kinds of mindsets on this planet, all different
Mhm.
kinds of people. So um um yeah, pretty sure that's possible as well. I mean, there's there's people who are like serial killers and don't have any issues with that, So I
Yeah,
guess there's
yeah,
also like people
that's
who don't
true.
have issues going on stage.
That
The
that's
human mind can be like complex.
mm-hmm. Definitely, definitely. Or like for me, like talking to people about stage fright and how they handle things and whether they consider themselves brave and stuff. That's always interesting to me to hear because some people are like, "No, I am absolutely not brave, not at all," and other people are like, I guess I can be brave if I have to." Um,
I
Well,
don't, I
do
don't
you?
really.
Do you have stage fright when you're going live here on Twitch?
yeah, I do. I mean, sometimes I mean, it depends. Like, if I'm doing like a raid event where we're like a ton of people doing like back to back to back to back, I get stage fright because I know I have like 1 hour to showcase myself. I know that I have like only one shot of showcasing myself to potentially some new people who haven't met me before, and that means that I sometimes get quite nervous, especially because I don't always know how many people I can expect coming in on these events. It can be anywhere from, I don't know, 5 people to like, I think the biggest raid I ever got was 160 people. Um, and I was just like, oh dear, when I saw the counter that announced raid has come in with, so and so has come in with like 160 people. I was like, okay, here we go. So yeah, I definitely still get stage fright, even though I've been doing this for like almost 3 years now. So occasionally it still hits me because I'm like, oh dear, this is either going to go well or it's gonna go really, really, really bad. Because sometimes it's also dependent on like tech issues and stuff. Like, luckily for me, after I moved, I haven't had that many, knock on wood, tech issues since then, because where I lived previously, it was like I could risk the internet going or something like that. So it was just like, oh no. um, So yeah, I guess I can kind of relate because like I will be anxious about it, but at the same time I will also be like very very excited about it. It's the same when I do these interviews. I will be a little bit nervous but also mostly excited because I like to put in effort in what I do, in everything I do. And people who have watched me for a long time or people who actually know me, they know that I put a lot of effort into things. So I'm like, mm, which reminds me, are any of you like, would you consider yourself perfectionists or are you more
Um,
like relaxed about things, both in terms of like tour stuff, but also in terms of like just when you do band stuff and such?
um, Before we start with that, like I want to just say, like you don't seem nervous at all. Like
Thank you.
you're hiding it very well. And like I wanted to give you a compliment, like because you're also doing it very well. Because I've done a lot of interviews recently, and like by also with some professionals, professional
Mm-hmm.
journalists and stuff, and like you seem the most interested in what you actually like in this conversation and the most invested, and like this is very enjoyable to talk to.
Thank you. That means a lot. I generally like to make the people I interview feel comfortable. That's also why I tend to not get super personal unless they start getting personal. So,
And like about the perfectionist question, yes, also for me personally, I'm very much a perfectionist, but I learned to like um convince myself to like let it go in parts where it doesn't really matter. There's
mhm.
like these like famous like I don't know like 5%, like you know when it's like 95% perfect and
Yeah.
you're like I want to get it better, and like then there's the reason voice of reason that says no you want but you also want to release it, you know,
Mhm.
it's like
Yeah,
and like
it's like you have to set a deadline to yourself. It's like, okay, I have until exactly now, and then I just have to be done because otherwise I won't let it go.
yeah.
Absolutely. There will be a point where you have to say, okay, it's done now,
Yeah.
no matter how good it is.
Yeah, I mean that I think I mean again, I don't really do music myself. I have done the occasional mashup and stuff. But there has been times where I'm like, okay, I have to stop now, otherwise I think my ears are gonna start bleeding because I will just keep going over and over and over and over stuff. And I don't know if it's just me, but I guess eventually you could also keep hearing a flaw that might not even be there because you as a perfectionist are convinced it's there.
Absolutely.
100%.
Like that that's what I mean, you know, that's like the rest like 5% or like whatever 1 2% are usually things that no one except yourself is ever gonna notice
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's not a technical issue, it's like it's a matter of taste, you know, it's like hearing for example like not liking the way I pronounced a word, you know, like
Mm.
thinking like the t on the end of the word is too strong or like stuff like that, you know,
Yeah.
that nobody gives a shit about except for me.
Yeah, and I mean, most people, unless they're really, really nitpicky, they don't really pay attention to stuff like accents and such in songs. Um, I mean, considering how most people, at least in the real world, I've seen it on the internet that people are constantly correcting others, but like in the real world, most people won't just straight up correct you in how you're pronouncing stuff. And usually, if they do, they are often incredibly rude about it. It's not like people aren't being discreet about correcting you, but in reality, most people don't care. Like, if you pronounce something slightly different, they're just like, oh, it's just so and so's accent, that's fine.
Yeah, especially in singing, like there's hardly any accents in singing, you
Yeah.
know, it's like
Yeah,
it's
I think that's kind of fascinating and also a little bit wild that, there are like you can meet people who have a lot of accent when they speak, but then the moment that they start singing, you can't hear anything. It's just like, okay, where did it go?
yeah, like when we just started out, I was before the first album was even released, I met a I, I was in Berlin, but
Mm-hmm.
just visiting back then, not living here yet. And I met some people from the UK, and like I was showing them Becoming Caligari, like the mix that was done already, but like wasn't released yet on my phone. I was
Mm-hmm.
like after we got after we talked for a while and about the music we make and stuff, and they were like, we can't tell that you're German, because that was my big fear. I wanted to
Yeah.
hear like, okay, can you tell that I'm German from the way I sing? They were like, no, we can tell that you're like, this is an international band. I can tell that you're probably not an English native speaker,
Hmm.
but I can't place the country. And
Yeah.
that's like, okay, that's all I wanted to hear.
Yeah, because like I will say that I if I had just heard your music and didn't know where you were from, I wouldn't have thought you were from Germany either, because the accent just vanishes when you're singing. I mean, obviously I can hear it a bit now that I'm talking to you, and also when I've like heard you live, because even when you speak German, like if you come as an outsider and you listen to German people, even when they're speaking German, you can tell that they have an accent. If nothing else, they have a regional accent as well. Um,
Oh well, yeah, but we are from Lower Saxony, which is like the part from Germany that doesn't have an accent. It's like we speak the German they teach you in school.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's
But yeah,
called. Isn't it called Hochdeutsch in
yes,
German? Right.
yes.
Okay, then I recalled correctly from the German people I know. Also, big apologies if I ever bastardize anything I say in German, because as I said, I understand it better than I speak it.
Never mind. Like it's I'm still always like impressed when people speak German at all. Like I don't expect anyone living in a foreign country to speak my language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I decided to learn some German. I was taught some in school, but I also decided to learn it a little bit on the side, so I would have an easier time when I was going places, like traveling for concerts and festivals and stuff,
Mhm.
because most of the bands I really, really love, they mostly play in Germany. They rarely ever come this way, so if I want to go and see them, I have to go to Germany to see them. Um, so for me, it was like, okay, if I can, my dream would be to be able to, you know, be able to like maintain a small level of conversation. But right now, I'm actually okay with just being able to understand it, because I know that German is a hard language to learn in the first place. So, yeah, um,
Yeah, it actually is.
yeah, it,
For making money at the moment, I'm teaching people a little bit of German.
mm-hmm,
People who came to Germany recently, and it happens all the time that I'm describing some German rules that I can't tell them the reason why it is like it is, but sometimes it's just do it like it. It's Das Mädchen is like one girl and Die Mädchen is like two girls. You
yeah,
just have to learn it. There's no rule.
yeah. It's the same in Danish, from what I've heard. People who teach Danish to foreigners, they're like, yeah, there are just some things we can't explain to you guys. It's just how it is. Um, but yeah, I mean, do you think it's more difficult for like a German band to break out of Germany? Because I've heard from some people that they find it difficult because they are from certain places. So like they worry that they won't be able to play outside of, for instance, Germany and stuff, because they worry that them being German is a barrier.
I mean, um, it doesn't really matter for the genre we are moving in, because like Germany has the biggest goth scene in the world, I think, at
Yeah,
least like
it's
so.
definitely one of the biggest ones.
So I mean, we don't necessarily have to make it outside of Germany. Like
Yeah, yeah, because you've already made it
if you
there.
wanna think in these terms, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's easier to become like really big in the USA, because it's like cultural center of Western civilization, I
Yeah,
guess. But I mean, as always, like it's the same as the same thing as when we talked about the internet earlier today. Just because you're it doesn't really mean that it's more plausible for you to become big, just because you are in the country where you think it might be easier doesn't mean it actually is. Like there's obviously more internationally successful American bands or British bands than German bands,
yeah,
but still, then again, there's bands like Rammstein, or like off the scale. So I don't know, but that wasn't even the question in the first place, because again, like, we are not trying to make music to be famous
Yeah.
or like rich or whatever, but because we have to, you know.
Yeah, it's just in your blood kind of thing. I'm alerted in the chat that a third band member of yours is in the chat. Peter,
Ah,
welcome in. Good to see you. Good to see you in chat. Always a pleasure to have new people here. um,
Love to Peter.
yes, much love. What was the question that I had put down? Let me just. How would you define the success? Is it when you're happy about something yourself, or is it? I mean, from how you've described yourself, to me, it seems like as long as you guys are happy with what you do, then you see yourself as successful. Am I correct in that notion?
ideally, it would be like that.
I mean, commercial success is always nice, of course, because you need to eat, but
I mean, I would like to be able to make a living
Mhm.
from what we're doing. You know, like, I'm not trying to be like super rich here or anything, but
yeah,
like, we still like most bands, uh, like even way bigger bands than us, like, usually still have day jobs. You know,
yeah,
like, the music business is like that. Like, like, that would be nice. That would be a dream to like actually make a living from this. Because like working 9 to 5 and doing semi-professional music on the side is challenging,
yeah, I can
is
imagine.
taking a toll. Like, um, but yeah, success is such an abstract term, really.
I would say it's an individual thing, you know. Success for the one is, you know, one person might say coming out of town and playing in a different town is a success for me. And for me personally, you know, playing at the Mara Luna Festival was a big success,
Yeah,
for example. And having people from outside of Germany listening to our music is a success. And anyone who's listening to our music is a success for me, you know. Having people buying our CDs is a success. This is all for me. This is all what makes me, what gives me the feeling of success, to be honest. But it don't have to be that way for other people.
hmm I mean,
Like, what Nick just said, I agree 100%. Like, I have a tendency, which I think is also very human, to like, when you reach a certain point, you know, you're not able to like see, oh, I reached this and I'm grateful for that.
yeah,
Obviously, I'm grateful for everything we received we reached so far, but like, you start comparing yourself. You're always comparing yourself to the person higher on the ladder,
Absolutely.
yeah. And if
and
it's not yourself, then it's other people who are in the same field who are
Mhm.
more successful. And that can,
Exactly.
to me at least, that can be a double edged sword because it's like, it can be motivating in the sense that, oh yes, I wanna see if I can reach this level of cool. That would be great. But at the same time, it can also turn to the opposite and be like, oh man, I will never be as cool as these people.
But I
Yeah,
would say
it's
that's a typical human thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's also always very important, like, for me personally, to like make myself aware, you know, okay, obviously we're always striving to reach something that
hmm
we didn't reach so far, but still, like, make yourself um like, always think back on, like, when you, like, 5 years ago, if somebody would have told us 5 years ago that we would play Mera Luna, that we would go on tour with a lot of the Lost, that we, like, you know,
Yeah.
all of this happening recently, yeah, like, then we would be like, off our minds, like, this was all we dreamed of back then. Playing Mera
Yeah.
Luna was what we dreamed of back then, and it's still an incredible achievement to us. Like, you know, always make yourself conscious that, like, yes, look up, but always not up. Like, yes, look forward, but also look backward, and like, just always be grateful for what you
Yeah.
Yeah,
what
try
you
try and keep some perspective going on.
yeah
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah
Yeah, perspective is definitely a thing you need in certain businesses, but like especially in the arts, I feel, because there will always be someone out there who's better than you for whatever reason.
yeah
Either technically or they're better at, the whole numbers game or the whole socializing thing. So I guess the only thing you can do is maybe if you really want to compare with someone, then compare yourself to where you were like X amount of time ago.
Mhm. Yeah, it
Because,
doesn't have to be a bad thing that there's someone who's doing things better than you because
mm,
you have something that you can try to achieve. Why not?
definitely, definitely. Um, is there something you would like if you could change anything about the whole music scene? Is there anything you would like to change? Um,
that is a very wide question. Like I wasn't prepared for that. um, yeah, I mean, it would be great if streams were paid a little more,
mm,
Mhm.
especially on Spotify.
yeah, yeah. I've read a lot about how the whole streaming thing works, and it's a jungle.
I mean, on the other hand, like I've heard so much about like people are not making any money off Spotify that I was surprised when we actually got our first Spotify payments that it wasn't zero, but like I don't know, a little bit, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Um,
especially when you also hear like bigger artists being like, "Oh, I did like so and so song did like I don't know 20 million streams and I only got 20 euros."
No, it can't
It
be
doesn't
that
work
bad.
like that, I
No
well,
think.
way.
it can be like that if that is the label deal because the money goes to the label and then the
Yeah.
label pays you, you know, and like if your agreement with the label is that
Yeah,
they can take as much as they want,
yeah,
then yeah, that's your fault
Yeah.
because you signed that contract.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
But that's a deal thing. You know, you can make a better deal with your record company, but be ready to pay for your freedom. You know, the more freedom you have, yeah, the more you have to pay for yourself.
yeah. So you have to kind of try and find the balance between, okay,
Yeah.
how much freedom do I want to do
Yes.
whatever, and yeah, like, do I
yeah,
want money or do I want freedom? Because both things are nice to have, but I think, at least for me personally, freedom would come before money because you can always find solutions for the most part on the financial side.
yeah. So far, we always had
Yeah,
found
Yeah.
it was did. Like it certainly helps that we don't have any expensive hobbies beside music because like there can only be one. Like music is a very expensive hobby.
yeah, yeah. I've seen the prices of equipment. That's not cheap.
Yeah, equipment is one thing, but
Yeah,
everything around it is the other. You know, like production, music videos,
yeah. The
everything.
whole, oh,
Well,
everything,
produce
everything on the side, essentially.
yeah,
Yeah. You always have
like
to pay people.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
And the
mean,
thing is like you always have to pay people first in order to make money, you know? Like you
yeah,
always like and that is the part where like why a lot of bands that are promising and on the rise sign to bigger labels because they they invest in the like they invest the money that you don't have in the beginning, you know, that like they pay the things first in order to sell
yeah,
something later. Yes. They
yeah,
produce the records for you, they produce the merchandise for you,
yeah,
and in
and
exchange you give them your merchandise rights and like you give them the rights to do that, and then you also obviously also get a smaller share from what they are selling. But yeah, if you're capable of like producing the stuff by your own, like when you know you're gonna sell some, obviously it makes more sense to do it yourself. But
yeah,
like it's challenging in the first place.
yeah. I can imagine. I can definitely imagine because like it's one of those things where you have to decide, okay, do I give this a chance and actually go through with it?
Yeah,
Because, on one hand, you could like be super, super promising and then just succeed, like, or you could fail miserably. It's kind of the two outcomes you have if you put it into extremes.
Yeah. There's so many musicians who like made like who were very like um hopeful and like
Hmm.
made a thousand records and like are still sitting on 900 or something, you know what I'm saying? That's a very common thing, but
Yeah.
yeah, so be it, you know, you have to take risks.
Yeah, and I think at least in terms of getting yourself out there, it's also a little bit dependent on how well you do on like social media and stuff. Because yes, old school work, word of mouth, that still works fabulously. But these days you also kind of need to have just a tiny, tiny finger into the social media game to try and,
um
expand your horizons to
I
new
think it's
people.
very important actually, because like word of mouth obviously, yeah, is very valuable, but when you hear about a cool new band, you know, like when your friend is like saying, hey, you should totally check out this band.
Hmm.
And then you go to their Instagram and you see like they have 200 followers and they post like once every half a year, you know, and like the pictures are poor quality, or like they don't have any like nice videos of their shows or anything. Why would you check them out? You know, why would you be interested in them? It's like
Yeah, it
um, even if you don't do social media very well in a way of like growing yourself, you should still use it as a way as means of like presenting yourself, you know.
hmm.
Otherwise, word of mouth doesn't help either.
Yeah.
Like, if not anything else, social media should be your Visitenkarte, you
Hmm.
know, your card.
Yeah.
It's like your Aushängeschild, whatever. It's like
Yeah, Peter is saying in the chat that it's kind of like 70% marketing and 30% music in the end.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I mean, again, like the whole social media thing, just like you said, Konstantin, like obviously the better a quality of face that a band is putting forward on social media, the more interested people are in following them. It can be something as simple as people clicking onto something because they think, oh, this looks or sounds cool. Um, but if the rest of what they present is then just kind of it's a bit of a shame, especially if it's bands who are promising but they haven't gotten quite into the social media game. It's sad.
And it
this.
brings an interaction with it, you know.
Yeah.
Every time you post something on Instagram, people have the possibility to comment and share their opinion with it, and that's a pretty good thing.
Yeah, that makes me wonder if some artists are maybe worried about the whole social media thing because they're worried about people getting hypercritical. I guess you have to just divide yourself from or distance yourself from what some people are saying. Because let's face it, on the internet, not all people know how to play nicely. I mean, I don't know if you guys have received any like particular hate comments, but I know
Very,
other
very few.
bands have received quite a lot. Um,
Yeah, very little.
Like obviously the bigger you get, the more haters you get.
yeah,
It's like it makes sense, you know, like when Lord of the Lost are playing Eurovision, you
yeah,
know, like and
yeah,
are exposed to such a
Yeah,
wide audience that has nothing
yeah.
to do with the scene whatsoever. Obviously, there's gonna be a bunch of idiots who like make it their life, or like make it their mission for the next 6 months, or something, you know, like to comment on any post related to Lord of the Lost, and
Mm.
like point out that, oh, they look unmanly, or they, you know, whatever, on any fucking post, you
yeah,
know, so be it, you know, like still they are playing Eurovision and you're sitting in your bedroom make you talking shit on the internet. Who's
Yeah.
the loser here, you
yeah,
know, like
exactly.
I'm totally looking forward getting more hate comments, so we know we're on the right path.
so
Um,
if you want to support us.
Tell us how shitty we are.
if you want to support the guys, leave your hate in the comments or something.
Ooh.
But yeah, like sometimes you definitely have to grow a thick skin online, or be able to distance yourself and be like, okay, these people are absolute shitheads. That's nothing to do with me, but everything to do with them. It's just how the internet is. I guess some
Yeah.
people really lack manners online, and I don't really get it. Um, on on that note, like, have you run into people who are like, oh, you're not goth enough?
No.
No. actually.
Okay, then it's more of an I guess more of an English and American thing, because there is this whole discourse on the internet about what music is goth and what music isn't, and the opinions that some people have is just like, but you're all under the same umbrella. Just cuddle up a bit closer and become friends, damn it.
You know what's really helping there is that we don't really care. We never
Yeah,
try to make goth music in the first place. You know, if you wanna like if you use goth as a term of describing, you know, like
yeah,
it's not a word that we're identifying with. It's a word that you can use to describe what we're doing. But like if you're not using it, whatever, call it what you want. You know, we're just
yeah,
making music. You know,
yeah. I
like
mean,
obviously, like us personally, obviously we are moving within the goth scene. We are visiting like events. We are sort of part of the goth scene.
mhm,
But again, like for me, for example, like it's not something I don't identify as goth, but like I like a lot of things about the goth scene, you know, and I I we are part of that, you
mhm,
know, but it's not it's nothing like that I draw identity from, you
yeah.
know, because I'm Konstantin. I'm not goth. I'm not metal. I'm not whatever. I'm just like trying to be my true authentic self.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you can correct me, maybe I'm wrong, but I have the feeling that the goth community in Germany is more diverse, you know? Like I have the feeling
that's
that,
that's my impression from when I've visited the German goth scene, is that it's more diverse, it's more chill.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
you get medieval music and
mhm,
you get hard electronic music, and maybe the term goth fits better in other countries when you listen to like Bauhaus and Susie and the Banshees
yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah, and it's like there is a lot of people who also seem to be very very stuck on that
Mm.
original sound of goth,
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's great and all, but there are also more out there, like
I mean,
you guys and bands like Vision Video, who I also recently interviewed and stuff. Like, there's a lot of good goth bands out there, so people sometimes need to explore a little bit out of that box.
mm,
Um, that's a problem I
absolutely.
see here, at least.
And what I also don't like in Germany, there are these people that are complaining like that the big festivals have nothing to do with like the music anymore and stuff.
Mm,
And like I really don't get it because like from my perspective, just be grateful that there's actually like that people help that these festivals can still exist, you know, and like
yeah.
okay, yeah, maybe there are like young people who are just like you just like the style and not listening to goth music that are listening to like I don't know to trap or whatever, but
Hmm.
still they're coming to the events, you know, they like dressing up, they are making it possible they make it possible that something like Wave Gothic Treffen is still happening in 2024, you know, like
Exactly.
just be grateful that the events are still there, that the infrastructure of goth is still there, you know, the
Yeah, and
infrastructure
and
of
and and like, I agree, and like, I really don't understand the people who are like, oh, but you can't be so and so if you also listen to this, and I'm just like, listen, style wise, I mostly have like one foot in goth, one foot in metal, but I also listen to like, more commercial pop music, and especially a lot of 80s pop as well. So I'm like, people, come on, just
none
just enjoy your thing.
none of the cool original goth bands were trying to be goth or were like saying, "Oh, we're so goth," and like
Exactly.
all of them were like open and drawing their influences from somewhere else. You know?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them actively like rejected the goth label. They were like, "We're not goth. No, 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 no." And yet, when you went to their shows, it was like 80% goth people you saw there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't get it. Like, I feel like the dark scene should be appreciative of what it has. Maybe not in Germany because, as we just mentioned, it's very diverse there. But like up here, they could definitely take a leaf from the German scene and be like more embracing towards the scene as a whole, because
Mm.
like, we're all in it for the music and to look pretty and have fun and just hang out with each other. So who cares if one person is like mostly listening to Uns Uns Twiddly Beat because they're more cyber gothy, and there's another person who listens to 80s? Show up at the same things and just vibe. Come on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can just assume maybe goth is such an important thing for them and their character that it's dangerous for them when people come around and try to change it.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, like this is always like, if yeah, what I never got is like when you're identifying with a group to a degree that you feel threatened when
Yeah.
somebody's part of that group that is not 100% like you. You know, like this is a wild concept. It's the same with nationalism. I just
Hmm.
don't get this
Hmm.
idea. You know, it's like
Yes.
it's totally abstract.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't take anything away from you, you know? It's like you can still be as goth as you want. You can still listen to Bauhaus every day and not explore anything that happened 40 years after that, you know, like in the world music wise. Okay, if you want to be like that, fine. But like don't keep like this doesn't mean everybody has to exclusively listen to stuff that was released 40, 50 years ago, where there was like 4 to 5 decades of interesting creativity going on.
Yeah, exactly. And like I saw someone recently on the internet who made like who were part of like this online trend where they were like, I'm a goth, blah blah blah, and they were like, I'm a goth, I've only listened to like the same 20 songs since the 80s, and I was like, why is that such an apt description of the scene some places?
This is a perfect moment to say that I'm just reading the comment here. I'm good for anything but Nickelback, Creed, and Limp Bizkit.
Yes,
Konstantin and me are pretty big Limp Bizkit fans.
Yes, and
love it.
unashamed.
Not ashamed at all.
We did it all for the Nuki.
Yes.
Can you take me higher? Hmm. Someone's liking Creed. I think it was Creed who did that one. But like, yeah, it's definitely a thing. Um, and I don't get the elitism. I think it's silly. I always thought it was kind of silly because in the end we're all here to enjoy the same thing. Like we are all here to support the same thing, and that's why I also get kind of happy. That was one thing where I was pleased for Lord of the Lost last year was, when people who weren't in the scene also came in. And I really want that to happen to like more of the bands that I follow, that it also are people who are a little bit outside the scene who comes in and sees them, because it's like, come on, expand your horizons.
Yes, it's what makes it interesting, having around with people and not everyone having the same taste, the uh, one likes this, the other likes that, and there are bands that both like. Yeah, would be boring if everyone would listen to the same shit.
Hmm.
And even though you might not like everything that's happening, you know, it's still great that there's new genres evolving. And like
Definitely.
obviously you're not understanding everything, you know, like I'm turning 30 this year, and like what young people, TikTok generation is listening to, I don't understand either. You know,
Hmm.
like sometimes I'm like, okay, this is doesn't speak to me. Maybe I'm too old, but like I still see that there's a lot of creativity going on there. You know,
Yeah.
like I appreciate like uh, a new generation making their new own kind of music, like
Hmm.
not reproducing what we made, like or like what people did in the 2000s or 90s or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. And yeah, like the whole creative process thing, it's just let people create if it makes them happy, as long as they're not hurting anyone, go off.
Yeah, people
Yeah.
don't see the chance sometimes. Sometimes I listen to or I get confronted with music that I never heard before, like maybe what people who are under 20 are listening to at the moment. And I listen to it and I simply don't get it
Mm.
sometimes, You get the feeling, you listen to it, and I just, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it
What is
doesn't
this?
it doesn't stick.
Yes, but this don't have to be something bad, just
Hmm.
because you don't know what it is in the first moment. For me personally, it makes me more curious. Like, I'm trying to figure out then what is this? Why does it work like this? And why do people like this? You know?
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. And like,
Even though you don't, it doesn't speak to you, it's still always interesting to like think about like why it speaks to others and like what makes
Yeah.
this sort of music or art in general like interesting to people.
Yeah, and that's also why I always ask the question of what influences you, and like why as a musician, why did you get here? Like, because to me it's interesting because some people, for all we know, some people might be influenced by, I don't know, Michael Jackson or Backstreet Boys or whatever, and still play heavy metal. I don't know. Like, theoretically you can get influences from everywhere, and it's not necessarily coming across the way you would think it does, because you can still take visual inspiration from someone or something, and then, or audibly take inspiration from something and turn it into something else. I mean, that's some of the magic of being creative after all.
Absolutely.
Let me just check the time here. And let me see if there is any more questions that has come in. No, I think that's right about the end of things. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap up soon. But I've had a lot of fun talking to you guys.
Likewise.
And yeah, I am definitely gonna play some more of your music on stream in the future because you guys are super cool. And depending on where you're playing your headliner shows, whenever they come up and running, I might just come and see you if I can fit it into my schedule, because I need to see you play a headliner show at some point, because that's gonna be absolutely awesome.
It would be lovely.
And yeah, to the people in the chat, be sure to go and check out Wisborg, go check out their music, go check out their merch. Like, I have all the stuff in the chat for you. I just need to pop it in the chat. Exclamation point Wisborg. There we go. Yeah, there's all the links in the chat to go and follow them wherever they are. Final question. Like, some people, Peter's like, I'm gonna learn all of their songs.
It's about time, Peter.
Oh, so you want to be sure you're not thrown in the deep end like Nicholas was. Good on you, kid. Good on you. Is there, like, final notes? Is there like one track that you would consider quintessentially Wisborg that you want people to go check out, like, right now after we're done here?
That's hard. I believe in nothing. Okay. For the old stuff and for the new stuff, in freien Fall.
You heard it, people. Go check out I Believe in Nothing and Im freien Fall. Nicholas and Konstantin, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you guys here. And thank you so much for wanting to join in and let me talk to you guys. It's been super interesting.
Likewise, I had a great time.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Glad to hear it. I will be right back, you guys. And yeah, big thank you to Konstantin and Nicholas. Check out Wisborg. See you all right in a moment.